Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you for coming through on this live, fellas. Appreciate you being here. Trying to figure out this fucking lag issue with StreamYard. So if I am lagging, just put a note in the chat if that's happening on your end. Maybe it's just my end. But anyways, yeah, we got ourselves a good show today. We're going to be talking about there's one thing that you know, in almost every institution, we have these sort of standards. We have these sort of standards and guidelines and all sorts of great shit to improve the quality of whatever it is that we're doing. Yet in relationships, we don't have anything like that. So we're going to get into that really quick and what that looks like. But until then, let's get into it.
Welcome to the Dominance Academy, where we specialize in revitalizing manhood and leadership. Our approach focuses on developing men to lead with strength and passion, enriching their lives and their families. We provide practical solutions and expert guidance in the realms of sexual education and the mysteries behind polarity and structured power dynamics. Join us at thedominanceacademy.com and restore harmony to your home while rediscovering the joy of a fulfilling masculine presence. It's time to step into your role as a leader and as a man. And now, the host of the show, Mr. Justin.
All right, here we go. Yeah, you know, I was thinking about shit like having a very high responsibility type of job, or you know, maybe presidency. That's sort of on the docket these days, or at least in the U.S. You know, if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, a politician, an engineer, even just to drive a car, you need some sort of guideline, lesson, learning, and all kinds of stuff to prepare you for this thing. And then while you're in it, there are still stages that move forward that are there to develop you further within that role. All right. And this is most definitely not done in relationships at all. People they go to their job, and then there's like reviews, and then perhaps you want to move up in that job, right, or within your company. So you have to take on certain lessons. Sometimes you have to go back to school and take a course, and then you have to level up your knowledge so that you're better suited for the next level up in that company. And the only way that you can do that is that if the company itself has the means to escalate their people. So they've got an entire structure there already in place such that the people who want to win can win. Okay? And this is not done in relationships at all. Why? Like, if you're looking at the road of marriage, it's quite conceivably one of the most important decisions that a man will ever make in his entire life. All right, this can really skyrocket things or amplify things, or it can lead to a lot of stress and in some cases into ruin because there's no structure, and he's not any sort of embodying element within that structure. Okay, so the thing that I want to mention and we're going to reverse engineer this here, our contracts. Now, of course, like I live in the BDSM lifestyle, contracts are pretty normal. It's pretty normal because there's so many particularities, okay, about what's safe and what's not safe, what's a hard limit, a soft limit, and a green light, things you like, things you don't like, goals within the dynamic, what skills you want to develop, what skills do you want, or like what habits do you want to get rid of. All of these things are gone through in a contract. My contract, it's 30 pages long. I've got a 30-page contract for the dynamic that I'm in. And because it covers a lot, it's very thorough, very thorough. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if you just omitted the kink stuff, first of all, it'd be a lot shorter, but why couldn't you take that basic structure and apply it to a relationship? Because what it does is it gives you an outline. There's a section on there of rules and responsibilities for the dominant, and there's rules and responsibilities for the submissive. So why can't you just do this with boyfriend and girlfriend or husband and wife? These are the things that I'm in charge of and the things that I'm responsible for. These are the things that you're in charge of and the things that you're responsible for. These are the expectations. These are your expectations. So, and you just lay it all out. Make it clear as day in document form. And then you can have a renewal period. So you say, all right, this contract is good for 2 years. And then at the end of 2 years, we're going to get a notification on our phones. It's going to tell us, all right, it's time to renew or review this contract and to see if we want to enter it again. And or are there any modifications that we want to make to it? And it seems like completely reasonable thing to do in a relationship. You do this with all sorts of areas of your life that are organized, that are growth minded, but relationships are like, hey, let's just kind of like wing it, and we'll keep the things that we need and want like sort of like under wraps until it gets to a stress point, and then it's something that we have to talk about, and then we neither of us really know good communication skills, so everything just gets all fucked up, and then there's a lot of passive aggressive communication, and it looks like shit. Okay, so there's really good reason to have a contract. Now, of course, it's not really a contract. You might as well call it an agreement, but it just sounds better as a contract. You take it more seriously. But understand that these contracts they're not bound by law in any state or in any country. So, but this is an agreement that the two of you come to, and it makes complete sense to do this. Why wouldn't you? Okay. So if anyone watching this, if you would like some tips or examples of contracts and how to build them out, I have examples that I can send to you. So just email me, justin@thedominanceacademy.com, and I will send you examples of a good contract that you can use. You can edit it. So it's open to be edited. It's not a locked PDF or anything like that. And you can design it however you want. And you sit down with the woman and you say, look, this is what I like. This is what I like. This is what I want. This is what I expect. Let me know what you're about. What do you expect? What do you want to learn? How do you want to develop? And that sort of thing. And then you get to know how to kind of move through. But here's the thing. It comes with a strong caveat. All right. As a man, you can't just lay this out. Okay. So like if you're affected with nice guy syndrome in any way, this is going to fall flat because you're then using the contract to get what you want out of the woman that you should be able to do without a contract. The only thing that the contract does is it lays things out for clarity, and it puts like an official tone on the thing that's already there. It's already there, like on an energetic level. Okay. She already has high levels of respect for you. She's already following your program. So at this point, that's when you present a contract. That's when this comes into reality because you're already there. It's kind of like those people who, getting married for them is like, I don't know, it's just like a whimsical thought. They're just like, yeah, we've basically been married. We just kind of like officiate it by getting married. It's not this big thing. Okay. And that's the same sort of deal when it comes to contracts. Okay. But again, like I said, in order to do that, you've already got to be the guy. You've already got to be the guy that has this going on in his relationships. Okay. So that means you have to completely extinguish all of the nice guy behaviors that are in you. All right. And typically speaking, I mean, unless you're a very dedicated hard worker who has a high level of introspection, you're not going to be able to do this alone. Because the thing about habits and behaviors, especially things like nice guy behaviors and things of that nature, is that they work to protect themselves. All right. A lot of your own ego will protect itself. It will aim to protect itself, even though it's comfortable where it is. You know, like I've been working with this one guy for a while, and I've been with him, I think, for 4 months now. And he's not making any progress. So I'm like, dude, what's going on with you? Like I've told you to go through these things, and it seems like you think just by completing the assignments and just reading the books and watching the movies or watching the videos that it's going to change you inherently. Just by doing the thing, it's going to alter your character, alter your self-concept. And this is not the case. That's like going and getting a gym membership, walking into the gym and just standing there for an hour and then come out and go, oh, boy, going to the gym is great. Like, yeah, it's going to really get me fit if I just keep doing this. No, you actually have to create a program. You have to go onto the machines. You have to go onto the freeways, the treadmill, and so on, and actually do work. You have to face your discomfort and you have to do work if you want to experience any sort of changes in your physique, right? And he's just kind of puttering along, you know, like I don't know if you drive like automatic vehicles, but they have like an automatic drivetrain. So even if you don't have the foot on the gas, as long as the ground is level, the vehicle will just creep forward. And like, that's how he's been. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You're just pissing away money. Like, I don't care. Like, hey, you want to give me your money every single month and not put in any effort? That's fine by me. Okay. But understand, you're wasting your time, not only your money, but you're wasting your time. And this is something that must be taken care of, right? You cannot ignore yourself. You cannot ignore the work and think that you'll become a man through osmosis. That's not how this works. You're not going to become a man through osmosis. It doesn't work. It does not work. You've got to take control and get into these uncomfortable spaces within your own mind. Okay? That's what has to happen. So he was just kind of spinning his wheels for a while, and I would get nothing out of him. Like, nothing bothered him. And I'm like, okay, dude, here's a little experiment. Tell me to fuck off. I said, just, you have carte blanche. Take your frustration, whatever that is, with from other area of your life, and pull that into a ball. You know, like the way like Dragon Ball, you know, characters do. They condense it into a ball and then they shoot it out, right? Do that and tell me to fuck off. And it was like, fuck off. And I'm like, what? I can barely hear you. And he's like, fuck off, Justin, fuck off. No. Say it with your balls. And I gave him example of me telling him to fuck off. And like, it scared him. And I said, dude, you have no fire. Where is the heat inside you that says, I'm sick of where I am right now? I am fucking sick of the type of person that I've been for the past I don't know, however many decades. And I need it to change. But see, here's the thing. Here's the wonderful thing about us humans. We adapt to bullshit constantly. We adapt to all kinds of bullshit. And we're like, yeah, it's all right. Like, as long as it's not like, giving us an immediate disease, right? Like, or immediate pain, like our leg gets cut off, or, we lose sight, or like just some sort of like immediate detriment. We're like, it's all right. And we put it off and put it off and put it off, especially as men, until it gets to a point where like, okay, now I got to do something about it. Okay. You hear that squeak in your car and you're like, it sounds like I need new brake pads, but whatever, I'll just wait. And then you wait until it's grinding when you press the brake pedal. It's like, and it's like, okay, now the there's no more friction plate left, and you're just depressing the mount into the rotor, grinding pathways into the rotor. And now not only do you need new brake pads, now you need new rotors too. Like, this is how guys operate. Like, you've got a cavity in your mouth. You put it off and put it off and put it off until you're in pain, or you see the giant brown thing in your mouth where a tooth once was, and you're like, ugh, okay, I think I need to go. And now it's turned into a root canal. This is how guys are. I don't know what's wrong with you. Women, on the other hand, they're very proactive when it comes to their health. It's like they're on the gynecologist like every month or every 3 months, or whatever it is. They're constantly looking for improvements in health. Maybe not like by and large, but it's a pattern that I see. But you guys just wait. And that's what this guy's doing. He's just waiting. Just waiting for shit. And it's like, bro, you have to take action. You have to take yourself seriously when it comes to this stuff. You have to challenge yourself. A woman who likes you is not going to just fall out of the sky and land in your lap because you've got great pecs. That's not how it works. She's not going to land in your lap because you've got a fantastic job either. Like, you have to hunt. Now, I'm not saying go chasing around women, but yeah, you have to be active. You have to be social. You have to give a woman an offer. You have to present an offer to her with a snippet of, this is what I'm about. I want to take you out. Let's exchange numbers. But he's just hanging back. And it's like, dude, if you don't face yourself, if you don't face the world, you can't expect any kind of reasonable change. You're just kind of going through the motions. And this is for anybody who's listening. It's not just that guy. You cannot just go through the motions. You cannot just think, okay, I'll read Way of the Superior Man, and this is going to make me a man. This is going to make me a superior man. No, you have to actually allow these things to come inside. Recognize the parts of you that are resisting it. Okay? That are thinking like that. Listen to how you respond to these things when you come across material that touches you in a certain way. Because that's where your truth is. Oh, that's good. That's good. I'm glad you like it. If you have any questions about any of the material in the book, just shoot me a message on IG, and I can answer them for you. But yeah, there's a lot of shit in there. There's a lot of stuff in that book. It's pretty extensive. Especially about going down on women. Like, if you want to become a master at that stuff, there's actually only 2 little techniques that you need, and it will blow her out of the water. And you actually do less than you actually think you need to do. Like, I won't get into this. I'll get into details, but it's some crazy shit. It's fun. Let's see here. Is it possible to contract when you play casually or consistently? Yes. When you play, so it's going to be edited, but typically contracts within the BDSM lifestyle have to do with working towards a true collar. Okay, so there's a number of different collars, typically 3, and it's kind of like going through, martial arts where they have like, the different colored belts signifying. And so, what I'm doing is I've got a day collar, which is just a piece of jewelry with like a little ring in the middle of it, just to symbolize what this is. And the day collar is representative of the first collar that she got. Okay, and it's the consideration collar. All right, and in my world, this is blue. Right, so I've got like a leather collar with a ring kind of in the middle, and it's not too big. It's thin leather, and I painted it with blue leather paint. So this signifies the collar of consideration. Okay, and then the next ones show. Actually, there's 4. And then the next 2 are like levels up from there, just like someone will be getting like going from a yellow belt to an orange belt to a green belt, blue belt, and so on. And that's basically showing their level of learning, their level of absorbing and retaining the information, and being able to be consistent with their behavior and learning the rules and the protocols and the rituals that are involved. And then they can earn, more belts, so to speak. And then the final one, the black belt, is a black collar that is really nice. It's very well made, high quality leather, and it's a bit bigger. And this is to signify the collar of ownership. And it's something that she's working towards. It's something that she wants. Okay. So contracts are typically linked together with collaring, with ownership. All right. And this can be either with just Dom sub, or this can be with master slave relationships. So either can have a collar. But as far as like contracts for play and consistent play, you could have like a working agreement. So like, let's say you met with a woman, say like once every 2 weeks. All right. Yeah. And it's consistent. You're going to have, it would be beneficial for the 2 of you to have at least a working document to show like what are safe words, what are like stop words, pause words, and hand signals, right? Like let's say they've got a gag in their mouth, how are they going to signal you to stop or slow down? Okay. Things that you're into, things that she's into, what are definitely no-goes, and what is a go. So it's good to understand these sort of things, like titles, how you're supposed to behave around one another during the time of play. But then it could be in that agreement that like when you go separate ways, neither of you have to adhere to or respect the contract. It's only in effect when the 2 of you are present with one another. So you can work it up however you want. And I really do think that it would be beneficial to just about anybody and any interaction with a man and a woman, like whether it's in BDSM or relationships or things like that. So, yeah. Samuel, you're going to have to be a little bit more concise with your question, because I said a lot of stuff. What are those 2 things? I have no idea what you mean. So please clarify. But yeah, so it's good to, like I'm saying, like if you've been seeing a woman and you things are consistent, there's some good stuff growing there. All right. You can sense that she's wanting to work towards something, and you've set up certain things that allow her to win, allow her to show off that she wants to be part of your circle. All right. That's a good time to bring in the contract. But like I said, it's contingent upon a lot of stuff. All right. Because just doing the thing doesn't make you the thing. All right. Shout out to Steve, when he always says, what does he always say? He says a lot of stuff. Don't talk about it, be about it. Right. That's what his well-known phrase is. So just copying the things or talking about it, or even the copying the behaviors, won't actually turn you into the guy. All right. And I see this a lot in the lifestyle, where a guy will consider himself a dominant simply because he has like a large collection of toys, or because he knows how to play well. Okay. These things go a lot deeper. This goes more to a more fundamental sense of who you are as a man, and it happens underneath. It's the foundation before you would consider yourself a dom, right? You don't really need to do anything special to be dominant. You don't need to do anything special. It's not about the dungeons or the floggers or using cuffs or gags or, interesting outfits or what have you. None of that really matters. Okay? None of that really matters. It's more into your core. It's more into the core of your being, and ultimately how you feel and see yourself, how you feel about yourself and how you see yourself. Because there is really no room for doubt. You cannot doubt yourself and be insecure and also consider yourself a dominant. I would go so far as to say that you cannot doubt yourself and be insecure and consider yourself a man with a capital M. You're part of the male species for sure, but you should not be doubting yourself, right? Like, again, Steve pops in my head a lot. There was this show. What was it? It's a series, American Horror Story. I think it was American Horror Story, and they did like segments that had a certain style. Like every season, this one segment or style had to do with like 1980s camp culture, like mixed with like the whole like horror thing. It was very Friday the 13th feel, and there was this murderer happening at this camp, and this one guy, I mean, granted he got killed just because that's how the plot was, but the girls were like, are you scared or whatever? And he turns and looks at the girls, and he's got like his tight tank top on and his beer and his like mustache, and he's like, I always bet on me. And this is what men do. They'll always bet on themselves. And in order to bet on yourself, you have to have a high level of belief in yourself and trust in your own judgment. Okay. Now, in order to have a pure version of this, you have to put yourself through an audit, because your values will be coloring your perception of yourself in the world. Now, what if this is something that you absorbed unwittingly through your childhood via your parents, via your schooling, via your religion, all sorts of stuff, other family members, and it's not really yours, but you sucked it in due to just being young and ignorant, okay? And now you think you believe this to be truth. This is truth about how you see yourself, how you see the world, how you see women, and so on. But it's anything that you actually designed. This was not a willful creation on your part. And this is another thing that we go through in the academy is we actually work on these things. We look at your beliefs, or I'll make you look at your beliefs, so that you see them from the angle that I see them, and then you start thinking, that's interesting. I never thought of it that way. And you start questioning, right? Because under usual circumstances, we feel bad for questioning the things that we were raised with, thinking that it's some sort of disrespect or disservice to those who taught it to us. So we know I can't ever do that. That would disrespect my mother or my father, because that's what they believed in. That's what I learned. That's what they taught me is important. But is it really important? Is it truly important to you? Right? So, we help you formulate this basis of belief, making sure that it is really pertaining to how you see the world or how you want to see the world. And then comes your constitution, and that gets built up. And the Constitution, as you know, in terms of nations and states and things of that nature, by the way, I didn't know this, but every state in the United States has their own constitution amongst the federal constitution. But the federal constitution is something that lies as the bedrock for how all other laws are born. And so if you don't have this, or it's stuff that you just sort of took in and kind of take for granted because you absorbed it from your family, or you absorbed it from your schooling or your religion, and you say, yeah, it's true. It's like, well, how do you know it's true? It's true because someone told you? It's true because an authority said it's true? Is that how truth really works? Is that what they did when they were forming the Constitution of this nation? No, they sat around for months deliberating amongst one another, trying to figure out what truly is important. And then they finally got to it. I would love to see the rough drafts. I think that would be really cool to see the rough drafts of a constitution. But anyways, once you have this, now you actually have a foundation and a basis for creating the laws of your state or your nation. Because if you don't, it's going to be formed off of something that you didn't create, that you adopted, so it's not yours. And more likely, it's going to be fueled by your emotions. I was trying to explain this to a guy on Instagram where he was talking about love and respect. And he's like, you don't know anything about respect. Just getting like really annoyed. And I was like, respect has nothing to do with your feelings. The law has nothing to do with your feelings. You can feel whatever you want. The law is still going to be the law. What is considered disrespectful or respectful is the way it is. It doesn't matter how you feel about them, because respect is based upon structure. It's not based around anything else beyond that, because feelings are unreliable. They can change the way you see things. So you don't want to use your feelings as something to rely on for judgment when it comes to what is respectful or not respectful. So you guys don't have that. You're using your emotions to determine how laws are dealt with that you didn't create, that were adopted from some other source. And now you're coming into relationships with all of this stuff that really isn't you, and you think it's you. So there's this false self-concept. And now you're going to create a program, or try to, based off of that stuff. So it's just layers of falsehood. Do you see how problematic that is? With a strong dose of emotions woven through that, which goes all the way back to mommy, right? Mommy and daddy. And whatever sort of shit is unresolved there, that runs as a thread that goes all through those things. And you guys call yourselves men. How? You haven't made you. You've just been along for the ride. I don't see that as being productive. I don't see that as being strategic with your own life. What are those 2 techniques on going down on your woman? Well, you're going to have to, Samuel, you're going to have to buy the book. The links are in the chat. Yeah, they're 2 very simple techniques, but man, it just blows them out of the water. I think I put in a third, which is a variation of one of them, where you basically don't have to do anything. It's interesting. It's very interesting. You get more with less. But anyways, yeah, Samuel, I appreciate the question, but to answer it, you're just gonna have to buy the book and read it. But yeah, follow the links. Anyways, so do you see how that whole thing is just problematic? You know, and guys look at the surface, they look at the end results of other men. And if they come across something that's pleasant, right? And they're like, that sounds awesome. I want that. And they go for that thing, not understanding, right? So like guys will see how I live my life. They'll see some snippets of my relationship. I mean, I don't put my relationship on blast like that, but they will see bits of it, and they'll see the end results, the fruits, and go, man, that's what I want. I'm going to try doing that. And they'll jump into BDSM. They'll jump into giving her rules and things of that nature and so on, not realizing that it's based on the roots of the tree and the soil. That's how I have good fruit. It's not me just copying good fruit. Like what comes to mind was the animated feature of Alice in Wonderland. And it was the scene with the Queen of Hearts, and she was like a real cantankerous bitch. Remember that? And the card soldiers, they had accidentally grown white roses instead of red roses. So they were panicking because they knew they were all going to get their heads chopped off. So they were spending time painting the white roses with red paint so that the queen wouldn't know and wouldn't kill them. And that's kind of like what guys do. They'll just paint. They'll paint the red on top of the white roses and say, "Look, see, this is a man's relationship. See, it's the same color." Really? Because the real thing would be her showing that joyful devotion. The real thing would be her showing true remorse when there is needed punishment. That would be real. All right? With her respectfully using your titles, respectfully following you, respectfully not interrupting you. Okay? You having a solid reward and punishment system. You understanding learning models. Okay? And if you want to be a good guide, learn how to teach. Like literally, if you wanted to say be a grade school teacher, you wanted to teach high school, you have to go to college to learn how to be a teacher. Like teaching isn't just taking a body of information, presenting it and saying memorize this. Because minds are different. So there's different techniques. There's methods to allowing someone to absorb the information that they need in the way that they need to absorb it. It's not just like, here's the shit, copy it and do it. There's philosophy behind it. There's methods and techniques. So it's like, if you really want to do this, if you really want to be a leader, you actually have to learn how to teach. There's skills that are necessary. It's not just saying, granted, it's important to know what you want, okay? But it's not enough to say, this is what I want, and then presenting it and saying, either follow it or you get off the boat. Now that's fine, but what if she says, okay, what are you going to do now? Like if it's very simple, then yes, she could just easily adapt. But if you've got certain tasks, mindsets, like if you're trying to change her mindset or change a habit, this is going to require a greater understanding on your part about how to teach and how habits are formed and the psychology behind how habits are changed. Like you essentially have to become a coach yourself. And you have to enjoy it. You have to enjoy it. You can't let the pleasurable parts be the thing that makes you enjoy it. You have to enjoy the entire process. You have to be process oriented. If you're just stuck on the goal and be like, oh, I want my woman to be like this, and I want her to see me this way, and I want to be able to do these things and be called this and that, you're lost. You're going to fail. The best men I know, they're results oriented, right? Because they're solution based thinkers. Okay, so they enjoy a result, but where the real interest lies is in the process of things. So don't look at the beginnings, don't look at the ends. Okay, now of course they are relevant, but what the most important part is the middle. The middle is how things go. That's where the how is. All right. At the beginning, you're determining what, but then in the middle, it's all about the how. And then at the end, when you can reflect, you're looking at, well, why? All right. You can also look at the why in the beginning as, understanding of why you're doing something. But the point is that you can't just rest on these things. All right. You have to have a greater understanding of how to influence and how to teach, how to lead. And the end result or pleasure or whatever it is, this cannot be your guiding light. You have to be fully interested in how things work and how minds work. All right. Like just earlier today, I took myself through a course of Chris Voss. Really interesting stuff. He had a master class that I took. Now, it was all recorded. I mean, it would have been awesome if he was live, but he can't do that. But if you don't know who Chris Voss is, he's a very famous former FBI, what is it? Like a terrorist negotiator, I think it was, or a hostage negotiator, something along those lines. He was like an FBI negotiator, and in his master class, he breaks down the different ways you can speak to people in order to coerce them or encourage them to think and behave in a certain way, and you lead them to where you want them to go without them realizing that that's what you're doing. You're actually putting them in position to lead themselves where you want to go. Like you're doing very little. And it's just in the way, the certain words you use and your tonality, certain types of questions, and a couple of techniques. You know, he mentions mirroring and labeling, but this stuff is all very important. It's all very important as part of influence. So influence is very much an effect of your presence, which has to do with how you feel about yourself and your belief and trust in yourself. But influence is also based upon skill, like to like a verb, to influence someone. So to influence someone means you have to put in conscious effort into helping them move in a certain way. And so yes, it has to do with your presence, but don't think, oh, if I'm just that guy, she's just going to just do whatever. Yes, that can be the initial motivation for her. But if once she comes in with that enthusiastic, open-minded energy to follow you, you better know what you're doing. You better know how to guide, because she's going to open up and follow, and you're just going to be stuck on getting blowjobs. It's like, hello, the world is much bigger than that. You cannot lead with your dick. If you do, you will get into severe trouble. I promise you that. I don't usually have bottled drinks, but I tried this one. It's vitamin water. It's coconut lime, which is pretty interesting. I bet there's not a single bit of coconut or lime in it. So I'd probably be better off getting the, oh, looks like I froze. Motherfucker. All right, man, I don't know what the hell is going on with this shit. It'll freeze up on me, and then everything's fine after that. I have to fucking reload Chrome. Anyways, yeah, if you got any questions, pop them in the chat. Pop them in the chat. Let's see here. Yes, absolutely. What would James Bond do? This is a good question to ask yourself. It's a very good question to ask yourself. What would James Bond do? Because he's never really putting himself out there to be fucked with, right? It's really important to, to know yourself to that level, Oh, what do we got here? You need to have a plan for yourself. If you don't want one, you can't expect the nice things. Yeah, of course. But the thing is, though, is that when you're process oriented, like I mentioned before, you're not really concerned about the nice things. They're a given. Right? Like, I don't really concern myself with, is she doing this or is she doing that in my relationship, right? Unless it's working on new skills. If I'm helping my woman learn a new trait or a new skill or something like that, yes, then I'm concerned about the outcomes because I'm trying to change a habit. All right. But for the given things, like, I'm not really thinking about that. They're already imbued into the behavior set. So I'm not looking to like, is this happening, or sitting there really relishing in it. It just is the way it is. Right? That, like, it's not yeah, but I get it. Because if you're in a position as a guy and you don't get a lot from women, right? You don't get compliance from them, and you don't get the sexual pleasure that you want. That's just the way humans are. Like, if we don't get the things that we want, then this thing becomes then a preoccupation. Our minds become preoccupied with this stuff. And this really, it fucks things up. Okay, because when you're preoccupied with seeking pleasure, then that thing starts running you, right? It becomes the thing that controls your decisions. And once a woman realizes that she can control you through pussy, now she is leading you. She can now control the stage, the pace, the timing, the flow of energy, all of it. And and I've told this to many guys who've worked with me, that you should be very aware of someone putting out their desires and their needs. Okay, because the moment someone does that, they will it turns into leverage. So the moment that my woman says, "Daddy, can I have X?" she's giving me a bit of leverage. And I think she knows it. All right. But she's giving me a bit of leverage. And from here, I can then determine from that leverage point, where do I want to shift things? Where I want to move things? Okay. Does she deserve the thing that she's wanting? Okay. Am I in the mood to torture her a little bit? All right. Do I feel like playing a little bit of cat and mouse and putting a little bit of positive stress on this desire that she has? Okay. It all comes down to the person who has put forth, this is what I want, this is what I need. And so when you guys do that with sex towards women, hey, let's fuck, I want to fuck, what are you doing later, let's get together, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're immediately giving her all of the leverage. She now realizes that her pussy has control over you, and now she can do whatever she wants. Okay. And some of you guys are like, well, I don't even do that. Well, if you're sitting there, fawning over women online, if you're jerking off to porn, watching another man fuck a woman that you'd rather fuck, well, then you're still doing it. You're leveraging your own mind against itself. It's really fucked up. So understand, just even having a concept of pussy as being something great and something you desire, even when there's no woman present, it is still leveraging you. But it's even weirder because you're doing it to yourself without a woman there. So consider that. But But yeah, I was talking with somebody recently, and he was telling me about his recent interaction with a woman, and she had put it on him, right? They were out on a date, and they started making out, and you know who you are. I'm bringing this up as an example, and immediately she climbed up onto his lap. Okay, and what this move did was it showed her, she displayed a high level of desire. Okay, and what this does is it acts as bait to see how the guy's going to react and how he's going to respond. And then, while he did end up like, cutting it off, not cutting it off, but like, stopping that moment of, the makeout session, she gathered enough information that he could be moved by this pleasure. Okay. And, I told him that, like, while she was climbing up, I would have grabbed her hips and not let her sit down. Just as she's coming, I would have grabbed her hips and with some firmness, with a gentle slam down onto where she was sitting. All right. Like you were sitting down a naughty child, like, sit down. That would have been the energy that I have, but my facial expression and my tone would not be of that. Okay. It would be, more playful, more sensual, more relaxed. But the energy of my movement would be of that of a stern parent. Sit down. That's not happening yet. Okay. So she'd be kind of coming in with that magical pussy energy, like, oh, don't you want me? And it's like, no, I don't. You're not ready to come on to me that way. I'm not giving you permission. Right? So it's like women have learned, and by the allowances of men, that they can get in to your castle, even though most of you don't even have a castle, but they can get into your castle by way of feminine wiles. Aren't I cute? Look at my titties. Look at my ass. Right? And they'll put on the sexual charm. You have to ignore that completely. I don't give a fuck about any of that shit. I don't care. Because in my mind, she's been getting fucked the moment that I started talking to her. And this is the mentality. And of course, you need some skill in doing so, having a strong mouthpiece to communicate in this way, such that she can feel that you are the sexual dominating presence in the interaction, not her. Okay, but once she realizes that she's the sexually dominating presence, it's done. You've lost. You've lost before you've even touched her. She's like, I got this guy. And once a woman knows she has you, that's it. Now, you might even have some dates. You might have some interactions. You might fuck. You might even develop a relationship. Okay? Maybe she's tired of the dating market. She wants to get off. So she's just looking for a dude that will be there and like consistently worship her pussy so that she can relax, she can feel safe, she can get off the market and be like, yeah, this guy's pretty good. I feel safe with him. And he'll basically just do whatever I want because he looks up to my pussy that much that he'll just do whatever. He'll compromise his integrity. He'll compromise his values. He'll compromise what he stands for. Before you know it, he starts becoming like a graft onto her, or a groupie onto her, or some sort of like weird mutated clone version, right? So that he can stay in the good graces, because that's what you guys really want. That's what you're after, It's a good question. What's up, Dylan? Good to see you, man. Well, I see the importance of not granting leverage by revealing desire. I also see importance in being transparent with a woman about what you want. How do you balance and reconcile the dichotomy? It comes from, it comes from your actual intent. All right. So I could say, let's just choose something benign. Like, I want to go to the beach. I want to go to the beach. I could say that and not really care about the beach at all. right? Or I could have a very, very strong desire to go to the beach, and then I say, I want to go to the beach. It influences it. So your desires and your impulses, how you think, what you're perceiving, what your motivations are, modify your words. So like the first time, it was the second date that I had with my girlfriend, and it was at her place. She invited me over, and so I wouldn't even call it a date. And I told her, I sat her down, and there's like tons of sexual energy coming off the two of us, and I said, listen, I'm not here to fuck, but you're getting fucked. And she like tilted her head like a dog and like thought about it for a second and understood, because I wasn't there for the pleasure. The fucking had to happen out of principle, like setting a marker of like what this is, but I'm not in it to get a nut. I don't even think I came when I fucked her. So it wasn't about my pleasure. It was about, kind of, I don't know, maybe like peeing on the tree in that sense. Like it's just something that had to be done. But it wasn't there because I wanted to get off, because I wanted to feel her body and her titties. Like I knew that was already happening. I already knew that she was on her knees before she was on her knees. So it was basically just something that had to happen to go through the motions. But my intention wasn't to get off. My intention wasn't to receive pleasure. It was to do something strategic. It was to set something in motion, set something in her mind as a precedent. That's what it is to set a precedent. That it's like, okay, this is happening, but it's also not happening because I want to get off or because I want to have pleasure. That's not the motivation here. So the words can be the words, and they can be exactly the same, but they get modified by what your motivation is and what your intentions are. Okay? So you can say, I think you're attractive. I want to take you out. I want to get to know you intimately. I want to fuck. All right. But it's not being pushed by a strong desire or need. Okay. Because pussy has no power over you. Sex isn't about pleasure. Don't you guys know that? What was his name? Man, I said it in another stream too. I forget his name. It's often quoted by Oscar Wilde, but it's not Oscar Wilde or Freud. He's a sociologist, and something Michaels. And he said, sex is about power. Everything in the world is about sex except sex. Sex is about power. So me having sex wasn't about getting off, wasn't about having fun. It was about conquering that aspect of her. It's me stepping in saying, I am here. We're doing it this way. This is what's happening now. I am the leader in the situation when you interact with me. And so it's about setting precedents. So it's not about pleasure. It's about conquering. It's about taking ownership. It's about stepping in and presenting. I'm owning this situation now. So you can say this is what I want, but is the want for pleasure? Saying I want to do this, I want to do that. Like when I say I want to do something to a woman, it's not about my pleasure. It's about conquering her. It's about conquering her mind. It's about conquering her body, conquering her spirit. I want it all. I want to take everything that she has. Now, of course, I'm not going to abuse it. I know how to wield it. I know how to lift them up. And I know how to bring them to their knees all at the same time. Actually, the bringing to the knees actually lifts them up. It's a weird, to use the word, it's a weird dichotomy. But I hope that helps you understanding between those things. It's kind of like the example that I give between like the clones, the clones of those two guys. Like there's a clone of a guy. He's an amazing dude from top to bottom, right? And just great guy. One guy, pussy has no control over him. None at all. The other clone B, he has attachments. He, like, pussy does something to him. It makes him feel a certain way. And he's got a little bit of an insecurity thing going on. But everything else about them is exactly the same. Clones. Now, they go and ask out a woman to dinner. Clone A, he just wants company. He doesn't give a shit. He just wants a pleasant person to look at while he's eating, and a pleasant person to listen to and speak to while he's eating. Just to share an experience. Doesn't give a shit. Okay? Clone B, he needs the sex. He needs the validation. He needs her to like him because it means something. Sex means something to him because it means that he's acceptable, he's desirable, aka he's lovable, because he doesn't love himself, so he requires these outside sources to confirm it for him. And when it doesn't happen, the little demon inside him goes, see, you fucker, I told you so. I told you you're not worth shit. You see how she treated you? She doesn't like you because you're unlikable. You're a piece of shit. I told you so. You should have stayed home and watched fucking Game of Thrones for the 4th time. So he needs that. So he's like waiting on bated breath about her behavior towards him. But they're both just taking her out to dinner. Okay? Clone B, when he says, let's have sex, if he can muster up the courage to be that direct, means something completely different than Clone A, who says, let's have sex. Clone A is like, he's just going to share an experience with her. He's offering her an experience. And if she declines, it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. Clone B, he offers an experience. He's actually not offering. He's in need of her drug. He's totally different. If she says no, oh my God, it devastates him. It destroys his sense of self, because the sense of his self is like a toronoko, right? It's a Japanese word that means paper tiger. He's a paper tiger, easily ripped, easily destroyed, easily blown away. Clone A could give a fuck, because pussy has no relevance. It's a wet hole the size of a quarter. Big deal. Why do you prize it so much? Okay, cool. Like, it's connected to, you know, species propagation and all that bullshit, but no one's thinking about that. Like, when they're having sex, they're not like, wow, I'm really helping out the human race right now. You know, after you have sex with a woman, you know, it's like, we are working together to help the human race. And you give her a high five. That's not how it works. Okay, so get that nonsense out of your head to defend positions for telling yourself that you need sex. You don't. You're emotionally bonded to it. That's why you think you need it. So you need the approval of women. Because you don't approve of yourself. Think about it. Why would you need approval from someone if you already approve of yourself? What other people think is irrelevant. I mean, it's fine. Like, they say, like, hey, you're a great guy. I like you a lot. It's like, okay, yeah, I expect you to. Right? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you like me? I expect that. I expect you to desire me. Like, this is the level of self-love and self-respect that you need to have for yourself. Chasing after pussy, desiring pussy, lusting after pussy is not respecting yourself. That shows no respect. Not one bit. And then nice guys will think that if they're showing a lot of respect to women, that's, you know, even better. But that actually is, you know, really bad toxic behavior, because they don't really believe that shit. They're just trying to get into the good graces of women. So then they think, well, if that's not the case, then I'm just going to be an asshole. It's like, well, those guys are just equally obsessed with women as well. You know, the bad boy and the nice guy, they're just two sides of the same coin. One side is trying to gain the approval and protect their ego from that angle. And then the other side is trying to distance themselves from women to protect their ego. It's all just a mode of protection. Okay? But when you're full of self, when you're full of yourself, meaning you're full of self, there's no need. So there's nothing extended. There's nothing for her to have leverage off of. And she's like, how do I get this guy? There's like I can't get a finger hold on this dude. There's nothing I can use to influence him to like me more. I don't get it. Bob, Steve, Randy, I would just text them hi, and they would just flood me with information, flood me with invitations and their desire and how much they want to do this. And sometimes they would play a game and pretend like they didn't get the message, and they wait. I know they're waiting. I know they saw it, and then they come in, 2 days later, trying to play it cool. I know that they're losers. I know that they're hungry for box. Just know that whatever you're hungry for owns you. Anything at all. Anything at all that you are hungry for controls you. That's why, like, if you look at, very, wise, like Buddhist type people, they're like unaffected by anything. They're like, yeah, it is this, it's that, it's whatever. Life goes on. Noodle, don't noodle. If you've seen the first Kung Fu Panda, Master Oogway was the shit. He was the absolute shit. And then the things in life are humorous. One of the best and easiest things to do is, like, when you remove the pussy from the pedestal, you can then easily see women in a very amusing way. Just cute and amusing. They don't get under your skin. The only reason why any of the behavior of a woman would get under your skin, and I know a lot of you are like that. You see this bullshit on social media and you start criticizing it, like, man, look at these fucking bitches out here with this bullshit and blah, 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 blah. It's because you care about them too much. You care about them too much because you don't care about yourself at all. It's a hard reality to swallow, but that's the truth. You either can't stand yourself or you can't stand parts of yourself. And this self-rejection gets projected. That's how it works. But it's like when you've released that grip on you, you then just look at them and it's amusing. It's cute. It's like you want to, like, pat them on the head. Even when they're in your life and they're just doing some fuck shit, you just laugh, and you want to laugh and pat them on the head, or bend them over and give them a spanking if that's what's necessary. Homegirl's getting a spanking this evening. Yep, she made a simple mistake, but it's like we're working on a behavior shift, so she needs some correction. So a spanking it is. I gave her a choice. I said, hey, listen, do you want to write lines, or do you want a spanking? And I know she hates writing lines. So she went with the lesser of the two evils. And so, yeah, she gets a spanking. What it was is I'm trying to corral her into asking proper questions formulated in a particular way. And, anytime that she has a question, or anytime she wants to add something that can be put in a question form, it must be put in the form of a question, and it's supposed to be formulated in a particular way. And she did not do this. And it's been a couple of times where I've had to correct her verbally, and I said, okay, you've gone past the verbal correction. Now we need to take it a step further. Do you want to write lines, or do you want to get a spanking? She's like, all right, Daddy, I want a spanking. I'm like, okay, that's how it's going to go. But in any case, she's getting a lecture on top of it. But this is, you like, I don't know, it's just hard to describe. Like, you have to be professionally detached, in order for any of this to work. Like, you can't be so sucked into your fifis, right? Like, oh, she said something I don't like. No, I'm not getting angry, because there's nothing emotional about it. There's a structure that was violated, and that's it. And then it's corrected. It's very simple. Very, very simple. Okay? It's just a simple violation, not my feelings. My feelings have nothing to do with this shit. You know, and if you involve your feelings, it's going to ruin everything. It's going to ruin shit. So get out of the idea of like this romantic conditioned idea of what a good relationship is. Good relationship has nothing to do with your fucking emotions. It has to do with structure. It's based in respect. If you don't have respect, there can be nothing else. I don't care how much you like each other. I don't care how much fun you have. I don't care how good the sex is. I don't care about any of that stuff. If there is no foundation of respect with a system and a structure in which to uphold the respect, then you have nothing. That's it. That's the way it goes. And you're not going to get respect if you're not that guy. If you don't believe in yourself, if you have doubt, if you have self-rejection, if you're trying to lie to yourself, like, no, I'm not doing this because I don't want to get laid. I don't want to have sex with her, but inside, yeah, you do. You're fucking lying. You're lying to yourself, and you're lying to her just so you can get some drugs out of her. Now I understand the hierarchy L gave me. Men with game are on top since they cannot be manipulated. Women in the middle and males are last. Yeah, that's right. But yeah, and really it's like, well, like people are like, well, what's game? It's like very, amorphous. But it's in my world, it's having a constitution. It's having a clear understanding of who you are, what you stand on, what you value, and what the laws of the land are for yourself. And this is what prevents you from being manipulated. It's like somebody coming into a state and trying to say like a terrorist act or something like that. And they're like, we want, or they're making a hostage situation. With Chris Voss, a hostage situation. And the guys who are holding hostage are like making demands. And they're like, no, that's not how we do things here. We don't give in to the demands of people who are holding others hostage. It's not in our state bylaws. I'm sorry, that's not how we operate here. So it's like that's what holds things together, what prevents things from being swayed by manipulation or coercion or force. All right? Take this question, then I'll wrap it up. What are some daily exercises or good shadow work to help us let go of the past and let go of what people think of us? Well, that's a pretty in-depth question, and you've got a couple of them there. But daily exercises for shadow work, I would say journaling and questioning the things that you come up with. There's actually like workbooks that you can find on Amazon. There's workbooks that you can find on Amazon for shadow work. That will ask certain questions, and then you can just fill in the answers, and it'll give you the self-reflection necessary. Letting go of the past is it's not a pushing away. It actually starts from a position of having compassion for yourself, because holding on to past pain is like you taking a sip of poison every day. And until you get to the point where you have a higher level of compassion for yourself, you're going to continue sipping that poison. And the poison is resentment, regret, anger, rage, pain, that sort of stuff. Grudges hurt you more than they hurt anyone else. Having resentment hurts you more than hurting anyone else. Having anger hurts you more than hurting anyone else. So it first starts with having compassion for yourself and putting more focus on the compassion for yourself than, say, ruminating over what mistake you made or how someone else treated you or something along those lines. You're putting those things first in front of compassion for yourself, right? Letting go is actually just a gentle act. It's not saying, fuck this shit, right? And throwing it out the window. That's actually giving power to the thing that you are getting rid of. It's actually just a letting go. That's all it is. It's a peaceful act. So that's something you can try. I appreciate the questions. Very good. Yeah, we had some good questions in here. Okay, so I hope that was informative for you guys. I'm going to bust out of here. Thank you for the folks that were watching. Leave a like if you feel like it. I don't give a shit. I'm just here to help those who are willing to listen. I'm not here to try to blow up on YouTube or whatever. If you have any questions that you didn't want to ask here publicly, you can message me on Instagram at thedominance.academy, and we can have a conversation there. We can always have a call. My first calls are always free. And if you like, you can go to the website, thedominanceacademy.com. Pardon me. I've got a lot of stuff in there about calls. There's a free book that you can download. There's 2 ebooks that you can purchase for a very affordable price. And yeah, again, if you have any questions, just let me know. So what's this here? Said to catch it live for the first time on a paint job right now, but got you in my back pocket on the headphones. Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Bazooka Doe. Bazooka Doe. All right. All right, well, you guys have a fantastic day. I'm going to get outdoors and enjoy some of this nice weather that we're having. Until next time, take it easy.